Joined now by House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries of New York. And Congressman, first, let me just ask you your sort of top line understanding of the deal. What do you think of it?
Well, good evening, Chris. Great to be with you. I think President Biden accomplished three very important objectives. First, to make sure that we avoided a devastating and catastrophic default and stopped the extreme MAGA Republicans from crashing the economy, triggering a job-killing recession, which would have hurt millions and millions of everyday Americans. The second thing that was accomplished here is to make sure that the debt ceiling was suspended for 2 years, taking it into the early part of 2025 and removing their ability for the balance of this Congress to take the country down another hostage-taking exercise. Third, President Biden was able to protect some really important Democratic priorities: protect Social Security, protect Medicare, protect Medicaid, protect veterans, protect the country from the types of extreme right-wing cuts that the Republicans were demanding in the bill that they passed in April, the Default on America Act, 22% cuts they were proposing across the board. And so I think, on balance, in this circumstance, where he was dealing with an extreme, unreasonable group of people who were determined to bring about a bad result for the American people, that President Biden did an incredibly good job in a very difficult situation.
In terms of the process, how involved, who cut this deal and how involved were you?
Well, President Biden and his team had the laboring oar, but they were in close communication with Leader Schumer and with myself and House Democrats every step of the way, and I greatly appreciate that. And House Democrats were unified. We were unified in getting behind the discharge petition to make it clear that there was an option here if we couldn't find an acceptable resolution. We were unified in all voting against the House Republican Extreme Default on America Act, making it clear that there was no room, no leverage in terms of trying to peel off Democrats, that we all stood strongly behind President Biden and his team in avoiding default and arriving at a resolution that protected our values and that was acceptable to Democrats in the House and in the Senate.
These negotiations happened. Listen, in negotiations, you go through it, you figure out what comes out the other side. But now it's time for the Republican members of Congress to weigh in on these negotiations. That is why I am a no. That is why the men and women behind me are no's. That is why more and more Republicans, as they read this bill, they are no's. And I will add this last thing. It's funny that the White House's talking points are very cheery. That the White House is telling Democrats, have crocodile tears, but vote for the bill. It's funny that you have 100 Democrats who are now greenlighting, they will vote for this bill. You know why they're going to do that? Because none of their policy is changed and they get to keep all of their spending. And last but not least, if we were going to do something constructive for the country, if Joe Biden didn't want to get rid of his crazy Green New Deal spending, the least we could have done is secure the southern border.
Yes, hear, hear.
And we didn't do that either. To my Republican colleagues, vote no. Vote no and do the right thing. And let's go find a better deal.
Wow.
So we've got to talk about these debt ceiling negotiations. Now, I will be the first to admit, when I first heard that there was some negotiation that had been agreed to, and Kevin McCarthy was coming out and speaking highly of it, I was on board. I trusted Kevin McCarthy. As a matter of fact, I made a video not very long ago where, I was saying that, got a mean deodorant stain, goodness gracious. But I was saying that, I was wrong about Kevin McCarthy. And that, maybe he really is for the people. But after hearing this, I've been hoodwinked. I think I was wrong. But let's dive into this a little bit more and find out some more
welcome
information.
to Hannity tonight.
Oh crap! Hold on, video. Hold on. Let's dive into this a little bit more and get some more information on what exactly is in this debt ceiling deal. Like, share, comment, hit that subscribe button if you're new. Thank you guys. Thank you to every single last one of you guys that have sent me a care package. I greatly appreciate you guys for sending a donation. Thank you for all of the super thanks. If I missed yours, I do apologize. I try to reply to all of the super thanks, but if I missed yours, I do apologize, and I want to say thank you. Okay, let's dive in.
And welcome to Hannity. Tonight, a big budget battle taking place on Capitol Hill. Speaker Kevin McCarthy and President Joe Biden have reached a tentative deal on the debt ceiling. Not all Republicans, not all Democrats are on board. In fact, many are very outraged about the agreement. Now, coming up, we have former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich. He supports the deal, and Congressman Dan Bishop, North Carolina, who does not. They will join us and debate the purported compromise. But here's what you need to know about the 99 page.
Hannity, I don't necessarily trust Hannity too much, but let's listen to the information.
So-called Fiscal Responsibility Act, including arguments on both sides. Now, first, the name, just so you know, it means nothing. We already have over $31 trillion in debt, and that massive tally continues to grow even after this bill. Still, small government economists, people like Steve Moore, support the bill, calling it a step in the right direction. Republican Congressman, on the other hand, Chip Roy, is referring to it as a turd sandwich. The Washington Times, meanwhile, they describe it as a win for the GOP, all while Representative Nancy Mace is trashing the deal for normalizing record spending with the president who can't find his pants. Now, some Republican lawmakers, they're infuriated that the compromise maintains what is an unacceptably high level of COVID-era spending and, repurposes nearly $100 billion in spending instead of making outright cuts to the budget. This is a bill that pushes any further negotiations back until after the presidential election, which is a very key point of contention. Many Republicans wanted yet another negotiation before next year's presidential election. They fear handing Democrats a blank check if they keep the White House in 2024. Here's what some Republicans like about the bill. One, it caps non-defense spending growth by no more than 1% in 2024 and 2025. Two, the bill does claw back $28 billion in unspent COVID funds. Three, it officially cancels Biden's student loan pause. Repayments now restart at the end of the summer, but it doesn't end them. Four, it marginally expands work.
Wow, doesn't end them. What a shame.
Requirements for certain social programs like food stamps. Five, funding to Biden's insane $80 billion plan to double the size of the IRS. That will be cut by $1.4 billion a year, but a far cry from the Republican bill that slashed the program completely. And according to CNN, another
Yeah, well, why isn't that gone completely? That makes no sense.
$20 billion will be repurposed in 2024 and 2025. Quote, this provision does not appear in the text of the bill, but another source familiar with the deal said both sides have agreed to that. But that means best case scenario is Biden's IRS expansion will still have around $60 billion to work with. As conservatives point out, the budget cuts are small, not enough for some Republicans. Remember, their bill cut $4.8 trillion. Also, the work requirements feature a lot of exceptions, and some believe that the cuts are essentially window dressing to a terrible bill. Now, other Republicans are for it. The Republicans passed the original bill, again, that saved $4.8 trillion over 10 years. According to Kevin McCarthy, this bill saves just over $2 trillion, which is a record spending cut. Now, finally, the bill also cuts some red tape around certain energy projects and expedites a pipeline in West Virginia. That's good for the energy sector in this country. Now, of course, Democrats, they are also livid about the provisions. You have the far left.
Hold on. Before he gets into Democrats, so you mean to tell me that we managed to claw back, some billions for the beer bug funds that were unspent, which billions to trillions is like pennies to a dollar. if we're being real here. We didn't manage to completely get rid of the IRS funding that he, was spending to double the IRS or to hire some astronomical number of them. Didn't manage to do that. What was the other point? Now I just lost my train of thought. Goodness gracious, what was it? Was that, and there was something else that we did manage to do. And on top of that, right, we now negotiate again in 25, so that means we better win, which we're on track to win. Very, very early, though. But the last thing that I think a lot of people are looking over is negotiated for a pipeline to be opened, which is just going to make Joe look better. Why would you do that now? Why wouldn't you trade off the pipeline and say, all right, we won't fight to finish the pipeline. We want less spending. We want to cut the, IRS or something. I don't know. In my mind, opening a pipeline to lower prices of things just makes Joe look even better. Even though that's a GOP thing that the GOP wants to do, it makes Joe look better when the prices are lower. So why would you listen? Either Kevin McCarthy is working for the left, or he's just flat out, the I word, ID, you know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna disrespect the man by actually saying it, but yeah, he's not all there upstairs. That sounds like something that just makes the Democrats look good, and that is for the Democrats. I played you guys a clip of Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader, basically speaking highly of the bill. If it was truly a bill that the GOP should have passed, he wouldn't have been speaking very highly of it. He spoke very terribly of the bill that the GOP actually should have, been pushing forth. The extremist MAGA bill, right? Which they always try to push out now, that phrase, that wording, extreme MAGA Republicans. Whatever that means. Okay. I'm an extremist MAGA. Okay. Ooh. Ooh. But I don't know. Am I the only one that feels that way? Y'all let me know in the comment section, please.
Sierra Club calling it a bad deal for the country. You have Senator Tim Kaine attempting to now torpedo the legislation in the U.S. Senate. You have Congresswoman Cori Bush now accusing her fellow lawmakers of, quote, taking food out of vulnerable people's mouths. Needless to say, Democrats, they're not happy with this bill, like some Republicans aren't. Take a look.
We're being held hostage because I am one of the people that has read all 100 pages of this bill, and I have been asking questions for 3 days, and there are things in this bill that I would clearly not support.
Will you vote in favor?
I'm still undecided because I know we can't default. I'm angry that we're in this position.
Anybody get a sense that Byron Donalds was right? Crocodile tears. Y'all let me know.
So I have some serious concerns about the deal, Wolf, and my team and I are still reviewing it. We just received the text last night. But one of the major concerns is on non-defense discretionary spending. Another major problem is the Joe Manchin pipeline that we fought so hard to stop from being built. That is still a part of this bill.
Now, no doubt many on both sides of the aisle.
That did look very concerned or sound very concerning to me. When Hakeem Jeffries talked about the first bill that Republicans had passed, that when he was talking about that bill, Hakeem Jeffries in that first clip, that sounded concerning. The extreme MAGA Republican, what's the other phrase that he added on to that? He said something else added on to that made it sound even more extreme. Bill, right? That sounded concerned. All of this sounds fake to me. I mean, maybe it's real. I don't know, but it just sounds fake to me.
are either happy or unhappy about the, quote, compromise. Even though the bill is online for all to see and has advanced through committee, it is still subject to change with amendments, and that complicates the agreement even more. And we have the so-called hard deadline, which is not a hard deadline, which Janet Yellen says is June the 5th. We do know one thing for sure. A primary holder of our debt is the Communist Party of China, and they do not fear, they do not respect this current president, this administration, because this week they spit in our faces yet once again and refused what was a polite invitation for our country's top defense officials to meet in Singapore. They said no go. And this also comes as China's neighbor, North Korea, well, they just launched a space vehicle in preparation for the country's very first spy satellite, which reportedly ended in failure. We can only hope. It is now more clear than ever. Under Biden, we are a train wreck both at home and abroad. China has declared a Cold War against our country, and we are doing nothing to stop it. Hey, Sean.
I don't think they said that. But back to the main point. This debt ceiling negotiation, I think, was a terrible, terrible, terrible move. Kevin McCarthy now has, he's lost me at the moment. I can be found again. Okay. Obviously, with information, my opinion changes. And it's crazy because I was just giving this guy credit. Literally just giving him credit like 2 weeks ago. Like 2 weeks ago, I made like a video on it. It's crazy. And now this. In the unveiling of it, right? Him coming out and speaking highly of it. Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer kind of being silent about it, but he's out here pushing it. Like, that should have been a quiet thing until you've gotten all the Republicans to agree to it, because now, in my mind, now I could be wrong, this is just my personal opinion. In my mind, if Republicans say no, Democrats are now going to make it look as if the Republicans are truly the bad guys. And, oh, we had an agreement. Look, these guys, the extremist MAGA Republicans caused us to default. And from what it sounded like to me, this isn't a good bill. This isn't a good deal, at least for Republicans. I mean, this is just more BS, more smoke and mirrors. And any Republican who pushes to pass this, hey, listen, if it's up to me, you're getting voted out, okay? And I'm gonna let it be known who voted for this bill. I might make a whole video on it. The names of the folks who voted for this bill. Obviously, we know the Freedom Caucus isn't gonna vote for it. So Matt Gaetz, Byron Donalds, all those folks aren't voting for it. Chip Roy, they aren't voting for it at all. Anybody that does will be put on Front Street. You will be getting voted out. I'm just saying. But y'all let me know what you think about all of this in the comment section below. Do you think this is a good deal, bad deal? Are you indifferent about it? Do you think, hey, we just need to get something passed so that we don't default? How are you feeling? Maybe I'm a complete idiot. I don't know. This is just a learning experience. These are just my personal opinions too, of course. Peace and love. Check out that video too. I'm out.